Okay, guys, I'm going to give you the one blueprint that is going to completely revolutionize the way that you close deals. Now, whether this be you're currently using voiceAI right now, or you are looking to use voiceAI in the future, this is going to change the game for you hands down. If it doesn't, by the end of this video, I will make sure that I give you guys some benefits, so that way you still feel like you didn't waste your time watching this video. Now, I will say, since there's so much information in this video, the only thing I do ask for you guys is to drop a like down below. And of course, if you have any doubts, please make sure to comment. I will make sure to get to those comments and answer each and every single one of your questions. But with that being said, I will discuss a little bit about what's going to be going on in this video, right? So first of all, a lot of you guys that are new to voiceAI, and if you watch my channel, you already know it's all about voiceAI. You guys will be able to, at the end of this video, not only send out calls with a time frame of when you want these calls to go out. For example, whenever you have somebody that you want to call, let's say it's a lead, right, that you want to reactivate, for example, you would be able to not only launch the call, but then put them in a wait time and then launch another call once that wait time goes. So for example, you're going to be able to follow up with them for at least months, however you want to do it, really. However long you want to follow up with them is how long it's going to last. So that's the first step. The second step that we're going to be going over is receiving information from each of these calls. So as you know, a lot of calls are going to be going out. With voiceAI, you can do tens of thousands of calls every single week. You can get very creative with this. And I'm going to show you guys how to get creative actually in this video. But yes, second workflow is going to be to receive the information from all those calls. And then of course, after this, whenever you get those calls to book somebody into an appointment, I'm going to show you guys how to follow up with them with that appointment, and not only have a voice AI that's also capable of following up with somebody's appointment. So that way you can either reschedule them, cancel them, or confirm the appointment. And then once that happens, the voice AI tells you, hey, this person canceled, rescheduled, or confirmed their appointment. And then that improves your show up rate. And I've done the math. It improves your show up rate by around 45%. And that is something that you guys really want to do. You want to make sure that you implement these things, but I'm gonna stop talking. Let's go straight into it. All right. So as you guys can see right in front of me, this is the first workflow that you guys are going to be working with. Now, this is going to be sending out the calls and then putting users in a time lapse to be able to call them again, right? And it really does depend on when you want to call them, but every call is going to be during business hours to stay legal. Just keep that in mind. Now, before we go and dive deep into this workflow, I will say you need to go over the agents. So I'm gonna make my head a little smaller. The first agent. Now you can make this agent on Synthflow, because keep in mind, we're going to be using two platforms for this. We're going to be using GoHighLevel and we're going to be using Synthflow. Synthflow being the voice AI provider that is the best currently in the market. You will be able to utilize this, and it's a no-code platform that is just very easy to get started with, and of course it's cost effective. So now the first thing that you're going to want to do once you create your agent here, of course I'm not going to go over an entire guide regarding going over the prompt, creating the prompt, and so on and so forth. I'm going to give you guys a bit of a general overview just so you guys understand what needs to be done. But keep in mind, I understand that every single scenario is different. Everybody does their stuff differently. Everybody's selling a different product. It really depends. But once you guys have your first agent, let's say for this example, I'm going to be using an agent for my AIagency vault, which is my Skool community essentially. Okay. I chose a good voice that I did like. Let's say I wanted to use this other voice right here, for example. Then once I choose my voice and I choose my voice configurations and my call configurations and my settings, all I know is that the main goal of this call is to book them into an appointment in my GoHighLevel calendar. Now, once we book them into my GoHighLevel calendar, that's when it's going to also activate some other workflows, which we'll get to in just a second, right? But the first thing is, let's try to get these guys booked into my GoHighLevel calendar. And that's what my prompt specializes in doing. That is what I'm trying to do, essentially. So with that being said, let's say somebody does book into a calendar. Of course, they're going to go through the entire process. But before we book them into a calendar, what we need to do is take them through this workflow, which is the 1.0 is what I call it. Now, inside the 1.0 workflow, this is one of the versions that I've made, you guys are going to be able to basically dump in a lead list onto this exact workflow. Now, with this workflow, we'll do is it'll first off make sure that the users that go through this are during business hours, right? So it first checks for business hours. Once it does that, it checks for DND verifications, which by the way, we make sure that in our info extractors for our voice AI, we make sure to add DND verification on there. So if somebody's not interested, they get a DND tag put into the 2.0 workflow, which in here we just check for it, right? So if they don't have DND, they pass through. Synthflow makes sure that you have everything in a batch size. So this means you need to add drip mode inside of your GoHighLevel workflows, so that way you send the users in batches of 10 instead of just all dumped at the same time, which is not good to do. Keep that in mind. Now here, I do an extra check for business hours that you guys are able to do. So this is me checking for the business hours and making sure that's all good. If it's not good, we send them back up there. Okay, back to the business hours check right here. Now, once that's done, you're gonna go over to this side, which is where it gets a bit, I wouldn't say complicated, but a bit unique, because this is where it does depend on you and your preference. In this case, I added 3 different assistants, but this is basically 3 different voices, right? So it's the same assistant, but with 3 different voices that we would like to test out, right? So if it's 3 different voices, we want to make sure which one converts more. So that's what we do. And I encourage you guys to do the same thing, right? Because it's something that will definitely add some value. Now, you may be asking, how do I initiate the calls from here to Synthflow? Very simple. There is a predefined action once you download the app inside of GoHighLevel for Synthflow, which is in the app marketplace in your agency level. You will be able to use this make a phone call action, right? Which you then connect to your model ID, right? So this is going to be, if you go over to your agent, you're going to see your model ID here, which you paste in here. You're going to use the contact phone raw format, which you can use by using this tag here, contact phone raw format right here. And then of course, you're going to do the same thing for the first name. The API key, you're going to plug it in right here, and you're going to be able to find your API key in the integrations tab of Synthflow. Now you can add any variables that you may want onto this section right here. So in this case, all we're doing is adding a name. So the name of the lead, which you are able to do by using this variable. So as long as this variable is in the prompt, you're going to see this. There's a little more on this one, but let's just say you're doing lead name. You just want to make sure that when you're sending out the calls, you're giving it info, right? What is the lead name? What is the user's name? In this case, I'm just using first name for this. Okay. So that's how you're going to set that up. After this, we're going to add a math operation. So this math operation is going to identify how many times this user specifically has been called, right? So you're going to add a 1 every single time they've been called there to identify their calls. Now, here is where we check for the if-else conditions, meaning we want to see how many times they've been called so that way we can follow up in different hourly formats, right? So in this case, we're checking for times called, which is what I showed you guys with the math operation, equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, meaning that we've called them three times, 1 time, 4 times, right? But whenever it's anything greater than 4, we stop following up with this person, right? So these are just all follow-ups. And as soon as they go through the follow-up, that's when they're going to wait 24 hours, and then they're going to go back up to the business hours right here, which is the wait time again. And then they go back to the entire process over and over again. That is the 1.0 workflow in a nutshell. The 2.0 workflow is what allows you guys, and this is a little more complicated, I will say, but this is what allows you guys to be able to nurture somebody after the, cut that out if you can, ask Judd, it's not nurture. So this is what's going to allow you guys to extract all of the data from the calls that you guys are making, right? So how do we do that? There's going to be an inbound webhook here, and this inbound webhook, you're going to grab that URL and you're going to go over to the deployments tab inside of Synthflow, and that's where you're going to paste it within here. That is going to be what will send the information back to GoHighLevel. Now, once you map that, right, in the 2.0 workflow, that is when you are going to be able to map the reference. And once you map the reference, you can use these references in here. So first of all, you're going to want to find a contact by their phone number, which we can do by going to inbound webhook trigger, lead, and then phone number right there, as you can see. Then after this, you're going to there's going to be 2 options. You either find a contact or you don't find a contact. If you don't find a contact, you're going to create a contact with all the information that you grab from the call itself, either using info extractors from Synthflow or information that you already have on this person, right? And if the contact was found, then perfect. We can just update them with the information that we had from the call, whether it's call ID, call recording, the call transcript, all that good stuff. Now, once you do that, then you're going to check whether the call was answered, whether they reached voicemail or whether the call failed. Okay. Now, if they reached voicemail, there's other variations that you guys can do with this, right? For example, you guys can take them through an entire workflow here where, well, workflow within a workflow pretty much, where you guys guys are able to send them SMS follow-ups. And I'm not going to go through this because that's not mainly what I'm trying to teach you guys. I'm trying to teach you guys about voice AI, but of course you can do follow-ups and you can get very creative with this. You could even add emails, voicemails, all that stuff, which is how I do it here. But in this case, we're mainly talking about the answered section. So here we first check if a user was inactive or active, which we do with the duration of the Synthflow call that is made. And once that happens, then you go over and you create a note within GoHighLevel. This note is going to identify, all right, all the information that we had from the call itself, like the model ID, the call ID, the recording, summary, transcript, all that stuff is going to be on here using info extractors from Synthflow. Once you do that, then you remove the tags that are going to be added down here because of course everybody's going to come in a new manner. And then you guys are going to have a very intricate way of identifying what happened throughout the call, right? So it's going to be pretty simple though. Don't overcomplicate it for yourself. This is going to be, all we're going to be checking for is whether they were interested and booked an appointment, interested and didn't book an appointment, busy and callback requested, busy and no callback requested, and not interested, which marks them as DND. All right. So that is what you're going to be doing here. And you do this by creating info extractors within Synthflow, right? Info extractors that would say, hey, was this person interested or not? Yes or no. You can create info extractors by going into this actions page. You go after the call, information extractor, and then here you would add an action. And as you can see, there's a yes or no action. So were they interested? Yes or no. Did they book a meeting? Yes or no. Were they busy? Yes or no. Did they request a callback? Yes or no. And you do all those within there, and it'll be very simple for you guys to have those info extractors after you map them attached to a GoHighLevel workflow right here, which is where it brings them down their respective paths. Now, if they book an appointment, this doesn't need to be here, but if they book an appointment, all you need to do is send an internal notification, right? This person booked an appointment. If they were interested, then you add them into their appropriate pipeline, and then you send an internal notification. And then it's basically the same thing for each of these. You can pretty much define what you want to happen if they were busy and requested a callback, if they were busy and didn't request a callback. Like for example, if they fall under callback requested, you want to either notify your team, right, to call them back, or maybe set up another workflow that has the voice AI call them back once again when it grabs their time. But yeah, these are all things that you guys will be able to have at your fingertips now that you know that this automation exists. So lastly, right, this is the calendar AI follow-up automation. So whenever the voice AI here that I showed you guys gets booked somebody into a meeting, you are going to have the ability on GoHighLevel to check, hey, did somebody book into this calendar, right? Once you do that and you check if somebody was able to book into a calendar, then you have the ability to send them an appointment confirmation and an internal notification to your team telling you that, hey, this person booked an appointment, an SMS letting you know, letting the user know that the appointment was booked as well. And then after this, you wait a day before, right? And this is showing you guys how to be able to get that 45%, extra 45% show up rate for your calls. So a day before, you're going to give them a phone call. So this is going to be another voice AI assistant, right? That is going to specialize on using the times that the user booked in and then making sure that they're good. If they're not good and they need to cancel or reschedule the appointment, the voice AI assistant from Synthflow will be able to help them do that. All right. So within here, you make that phone call, you grab whether they were interested, whether they confirmed, canceled, or rescheduled their appointment, and the voice AI will handle that on itself. If you guys have any questions, join the community. Of course, I'm going to make sure to help you guys through that. All right. If you have any questions regarding these voice AI assistants, I have a whole team that can help you. All right. So then, of course, it's just wait an hour before, send them the notifications of the confirmations of being able to go into the appointment. And then 10 minutes before, you're going to do the same thing. You send them the internal notifications, you send the appointment confirmations once again, and then making sure that, they're able to cancel, reschedule, all that stuff. This is what it looks like. So you guys get an idea right here. And yeah, so that's basically what we do in this workflow. Now, there's one last workflow that you guys need to know, and it is grabbing the information whether they did confirm, cancel, or reschedule their appointment. So it's the same stuff right here that I showed you guys before about finding a contact, creating a contact, and so on and so forth. And the same thing down here about whether they answered the call, reached voicemail, and everything like that. But here's the important part. In this part, you're going to be able to understand whether the appointment was confirmed, canceled, or rescheduled using info extractors. And these are the info extractors that I used, right? Did the user confirm the meeting? Did the user confirm, cancel, or reschedule the appointment? What was the confirmed date of the appointment in Eastern time zone, right? So these things you guys will have, so that way we're able to identify them whenever we're in this workflow, and then you can send yourself an internal notification and add them into a pipeline stage for yourself, right? So now I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys guys that this is the easiest thing to build, because in reality, it's not. I'm not going to tell you guys that just because I understand how much effort I put into these workflows, how much effort I put into the basically delivering for every single client that's come along my way. All I will say is that you have my support. I'm here to help you out, and I'm here to make sure that you get the success that you want. All right. Whether that is me helping you out with my team or me helping you out myself if you go into the community, however you really want to do it, the only way I can even speak to you is either through the comment section or through the community. That's why I tell you guys to join. So with that being said, I do have the community, the AI Agency Vault. This community is going to allow you guys to be able to get everything from point A to point Z. All of it is in there. Free courses, free snapshots, all that is in there. I don't need your money. I'm here to just help you out. So at the end of the day, I am your main point of contact when it comes to voice AI if you see fit, right? So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.